Creators who post 3 or 4 times a week spend less time on content than you do. That's not an exaggeration. I've worked with lots of creators and business owners at different stages, from people just getting started to people running six-figure channels. And the pattern is always the same. The ones who can't stay consistent are doing everything themselves. The ones who post like clockwork have figured out that most of the work doesn't require them at all. But here's the thing nobody talks about. It's not just that they hired help. Plenty of people hire help and still burn out. Plenty of people outsource their editing and then fall off their schedule 2 months later anyway. Trust me, I see it all the time. What consistent creators actually figured out is something deeper than delegation. They changed how they see their own role in the process. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you're a creator or business owner right now doing everything yourself, think about how you spend your content hours in a given week. Writing, filming, editing, thumbnails, posting, comments, analytics. You're doing all of it, and editing is probably eating the biggest chunk. Maybe 5 to 10 hours of that is for editing a single video, depending on length and complexity. So the obvious move is to hand off the editing. And that is the right first move. But what happens next is where most people quietly fail. I've watched this play out dozens of times. A creator comes to us, we start handling their editing, things go well for a couple of weeks, and then they stop sending footage, they go dark for a month. When we follow up, it's always some version of the same answer. They got busy, something came up, they just couldn't find the time to shoot. What actually happened is they freed up 5 to 10 hours a week by handing off editing, and then they just absorbed that time back into everything else. They didn't restructure anything. They didn't protect time for the one thing they still need to show up and do, which is film. They treated delegation like removing a task from the list instead of what it actually is, which is making room for the tasks that only they can do. The creators who stay consistent don't just delegate. They fundamentally rethink what their job is. And this is the part that's uncomfortable for a lot of people to hear. Because if you've been a creator for any length of time, you probably identify with the doing. The editing, the writing, the posting. That feels like the work. That feels like being a creator or an entrepreneur. But the people who scale, the ones posting multiple times a week for years without burning out, they've made a shift. They stopped seeing themselves as the person who does or directly manages every step and started seeing themselves as the person who sets direction and makes sure the system runs. Their job became deciding what content to make, why it matters to their audience, and whether the output matches the vision. Everything else became someone else's job. And want to be honest about why that shift is hard. It's not just a scheduling change. When you've been editing your own videos, you know exactly how they turn out. You have complete control. The first time someone else edits your video and it comes back a little different from what you would have done, that's uncomfortable. And a lot of creators use that discomfort as evidence that outsourcing doesn't work. They say things like, "Nobody can match my style," and "It's faster if I just do it myself." Both of those things feel true, and both of them will keep you stuck. Having worked with over 30 to 40 editors myself, I promise you, the reality is that the first few projects with an editor are often a little rough if you've never worked with one before, or if you've never had a successful director-editor relationship. Not because the editor is bad, but because you've never had to communicate the vision that's been living in your head to another person. You're not good at it yet. That's a skill, and it takes a few reps to build. By the third or fourth project, if the editor is competent and you're giving clear feedback, the revision notes start getting smaller. By the 10th project, you're barely giving notes at all. But you have to survive that early friction. And the creators who do are the ones who understood going in that revisions aren't a sign of failure. Revisions are just communication. They're how you teach someone your style. 1 or 2 rounds of notes per video is completely normal even after you've worked in somewhere for months. That's not a broken process. That is the process. Now here's something I see people get wrong on the other side of this. They assume the only reason to outsource editing is because they can't afford the time. But the real reason is more fundamental than that. If you're spending the majority of your content hours editing, you are not spending those hours on the thing that actually determines whether your channel grows. Your audience does not grow because of how good your edits are. Your audience grows because of what you have to say, how well you understand what they need, and whether you can show up consistently enough for them to build a relationship with you. That's vision. That's strategy. And you can't do that work well when your brain is buried in a timeline 12 hours a week. The creators who post 3 times a week aren't grinding more. They've made sure that the hours they do spend are spent on the things that actually move the needle. One of our clients was stuck in this exact cycle for 3 or 4 years. He was doing everything himself on top of a full-time job. He'd post consistently for a stretch, start seeing some traction, and then work would get busy or life would get in the way, and the content would just stop. Every time he stopped, the momentum died. And every time he tried to restart, he was basically starting from zero again. What finally changed for him wasn't hiring an editor. That was part of it, but that alone hadn't worked before. What changed was he restructured the whole system. He hired out the writing, the editing, and the social media management. His only job became showing up to film and managing the team at a high level. Suddenly, consistency wasn't about finding 20 hours a week anymore. It was about protecting 3 or 4, and he's been consistent ever since. That's the real answer to how do they do it. They're not more disciplined than you. They're not working harder. They just stopped spending their time on the wrong things. And for most of them, the turning point was getting editing off their plate first, because it's the most time-consuming part of the process and the easiest to hand off well. If you want the actual step-by-step system for how to set this up, I put together a free guide called the 3-hour-a-week content system. It breaks down exactly how to structure your week, what to delegate and in what order, what it costs at different levels, and how to manage the whole thing without adding meetings to your calendar. The link is in the description.